Welcome back to Echo Ridge and another episode here in our Max Dupe colony, aka Duplicity. We're at cycle 327 with 111 dupes. For the record, we're sitting around 25 to 30 frames per second. I've been doing a little bit of colony maintenance in the background. For instance, I got rid of all the extra critters in here. It's brought us up over 2.1 million calories. I suppose I also have to do the same thing here, and this is important because you don't want too many extra critters on the colony if you can help it. Actually, I don't want to get rid of those regular Drecos, because the regular Drecos are going in our new mass Dreco farm. I don't know what else you call this, but I also wanted to address a few comments that we got from the last video asking, why don't I put a bunch of glossy Drecos in here and then I can do some magical things with all that plastic, like a huge shower gas boiler. And I would love to be able to do that, and it's a great idea. The issue becomes feeding those glossy Drecos. Glossy Drecos only like to eat mealwood and bristle blossom, whereas our regular Drecos can be fed off of balm lily. And that's where the beauty of this system really takes off, because balm lily doesn't require anything to keep it sustained other than living in a chlorine bath. So we're going to be getting a whole bunch of phosphorite and meat from all of these ranches for no input cost other than duplicate labor to continue to ranch them. Our sauna is nearly finished, so I think it's time to go ahead and get rid of all these extra power bank chargers from around the colony. Oh yeah, we have a bunch up here too. We're down to 840 kilojoules, make that 960, but that'll end up going right back up as soon as this system gets fully functional. I have to remember though, for every 2 bionic dupes, I have to add another power bank charger. Right now we have 8, 16, and there's 20. And we only have 24 power bank chargers up here right now. But I'm hoping to be able to get enough of a surplus to allow us to do an ebb and flow with the battery count. But I want this joules available to go sky high. Unfortunately, that's going to take a lot more power as well. So this episode is going to be all about finishing up this industrial sauna, solidifying our power footprint on the colony, and getting this Dreco ranch going. Right now, we're still vacuuming it and continuing to put in a bunch of the rails. Remember, the rails can only be done by mechatronics engineers. And while we do have a lot of them on the colony, I sort of gave up with setting priorities for each individual dupe a long time ago. So about a third of the colony is just now flat, which means they do errands as they come up and by priority, not necessarily by any personal interest. I was gonna dump all of this into this giant pool here, but I actually want this to be drained a little bit more. That way all the bad gases have an easier time flowing down through the bottom here. I'm also making a concerned effort to clean up this side of the colony, because once it is finally clean, I am gonna knock down this wall here so that the dupes can go back and forth without having to go through these entrance corridors that are protecting this side of the colony from all the polluted oxygen being emitted on this side. We mostly have that under control. This pond here is about the last one, besides this one, but it has a pretty thick layer of water on top, so it cannot off-gas. But it's time to drain this anyways, and we already have a line heading over there, so I'm just gonna connect into it. It'll do a 50-50 split with this polluted water vent. In fact, I actually want to bridge this on, and that way that water vent has priority, because this water will always be here. But the longer this thing can erupt, the more water we'll have in the future. So I think the first thing I'm going to set my sights on is fixing this cool steam vent area. Right now you can see it's overpressured, and that's because it's sitting in above 5 kilos worth of gas. Or at least it was the last time it erupted. And in order to prevent this from happening in the future, I need to have enough gas pumps here to continue to siphon all that steam to the center of the sauna. And you might wonder, well, why not just leave it open then? Well, because then that gas is just going to come right back in and continue to stifle this. Remember, I want to keep the sauna around 20 kilos worth of pressure, but the cool steam vent can only be in a bive. So we need to add a lot more steel gas pumps. And considering the cool steam vent, because it's geotuned, can erupt at 10 kilos per second, so I'm thinking even if its average output is only around 3 kilos, in order for the colony to get as much water from this cool steam vent as possible, I'm going to add, I don't know what, 8 gas pumps? The issue is going to be all the piping. This is going to take quite a few bridges, but we'll make it happen. And in the middle of that project here at cycle 329, and I just noticed there's pee on the floor for some reason, it's time to print another dupe. We have the option between a pair of bionic dupes and a standard nails. I think in this case we're going to grab the nails. I don't think we have too many Masterworks decorators, and neither of the bionic dupes are knocking my socks off. So welcome to the colony, dupe number 112, Macapaka. Which this reminds me, I'm going to need more beds soon and another spalm. We're good until 120, but I don't want to cut it too close. One problem I'm starting to run into, and that is with the bionic dupes and how we recently transferred all the power banks in here. Well, if a dupe can't get in here because there's not enough suits, and I think the problem will fix itself once all the dupes are right as rain again. And I also learned that bionic dupes don't necessarily need any downtime. This amount of downtime for a bionic dupe only gives them +1 to morale. Now, before you start complaining that this is not fair to the boops, just remember, they're not real. They're robot dupes. Saying that, even if it's not true, somehow makes it seem more humane. It's already been 3 cycles later, and the pod's not giving us much of a choice on this one. Luckily, we have a couple of dupes with the suit training booster, which gives them a +5 to athletics. So between the 2 bionic bugs, I think ulti is a little bit better. Welcome to the colony, dupe number 113, Teefed. Because why not? We're starting to get a lot of suffocation messages around the colony. Well, we're running out of oxygen. Why are we running out of oxygen? We have 4 spawns. And that's because the spawns aren't getting any water, so they're not producing any oxygen. And that's happening because our 2 primary pumps that are feeding all the spawns are running out of power. Why are they running out of power? Because all of our power banks are chewing through it all. So temporarily, I've disconnected 1 line of power banks just until I can get the power situation fixed again. And I think the big thing that's going to help us with that is all the hydrogen power in and around the colony. So the next few cycles are going to be a little, I don't know, hairy? Yeah, we do have our backup power around here, but unfortunately, they can't breathe down here either. So as it stands, for the past couple of cycles, we've been surviving off of all the excess oxygen in and around the colony. I'm also starting to come to the conclusion that our industrial sauna is just not big enough. If I can move that over just a smidge. Do I really need 2 metal refineries? And before I can fix even a single thing, it's time to print another dupe. And it's 3 more bionic dupes, because of course it is. I'm gonna go again with an ulti, only because their bionic bug is probably the least worst out of the 3. That's what it's coming down to these days. Welcome to the colony, duplicant number 114, Kathleen McGroarty. I've managed to set up 5 lines coming out of what's going to be our steam room, and they're going to be heading towards 5 different high-pressure gas vents. Remember, you don't really need the 5 high-pressure gas vents in a normal situation. It's just that each vent can only handle 1 pipe at a time. And I have a feeling all of these are going to be running all at the same time. It looks like it is time to disconnect that one though. Probably like that, because we're going to try to make these as symmetrical as possible. This is also another reason why I said that our industrial sauna is not turning out to be big enough, because I can't really put any of the hydrogen generators over on this side because there's too many gas pipes as is. With those lines going in, now all we have to do is clean this area up. I did make sure they all have power. No, I did not. Not that I have a whole lot of power to spare as is. But once the power is in, we remove the ladders, sweep all this stuff, and I'll finally be able to seal this place off. I'm also going to start running this metal refinery and have it start producing steel again, because if we could get the heat up in here, it would turn these steam turbines on, which would also help with power. Speaking of which, maybe it's time that I put these into a power room so we can use Engie's tune-up. That could fit indeed. I just realized I haven't even built the thermal aqua tuner required to keep the steam turbines cold. So regardless of the fact that they're made out of lead, they're still going to end up overheating and not generating power to begin with. So I guess it's time for a thermal aqua tuner in here too. Quick update here on cycle 338. I've got 4 hydrogen generators in on this left side, and I also have a couple of gas reservoirs. Remember we put the hydrogen spine in probably, 3-4 episodes ago? Well, it's time to start feeding into it and get these hydrogen generators going. Step 1 is I'm going to need another battery. to control just these hydrogen generators. And there it is again, another dupe. We have work to do though. We can wait on the dupe. Once I have those in, I'll then start tapping in from all over the colony into that hydrogen line and start feeding it into these hydrogen generators, and they'll be the first to burn. I'm also going to put a valve system in here that says, hey, if we have too much hydrogen and it's sitting for too long, burn anyways, but that'll come here in a little bit, hopefully. Another thing I realized now that all of our gas pumps are going is all the steam over here is very, very hot. This cool steam vent erupts at 210, so it's just that this part of the sauna is still pretty cool, but the aqua tuner, the metal refinery, and all that steam and all of these power banks will rise the temperature here in the sauna, so hopefully we can start getting power, which I did put into a power plant. Love the fact that Clay increased the size of the power plant room to a max of 120 now, so it's pretty easy to fit 5 steam turbines and a power plant, which is absolutely perfect. I'm going to select iron because we have the iron volcano, so that should work out well too. I also have the thermo aqua tuner going in, lots of pipes. The first thing it's going to cool is all this oxygen, and then we're going to cool the steam turbines. Everything takes a very long time, and I know that's sort of counterintuitive considering I have 114 dupes. But with 114 dupes and so much going on, every single cycle there's something happening that I have to address. Let's see who's waiting for us. And it's more bionic dupes. Yay! In this case, this Eduardo is the dupe of the hour because they start with the electrical engineering, which we're going to need plenty of electrical engineers. That way they can get around to do the NG's tune-ups. Reminds me, I really should put those hydrogen generators in a power plant too. Welcome to the colony, duplicate number 115, Chris Snyder. And here's a perfect example of what I was talking about before. We need another barracks again. I have no idea where I'm going to put this one. If this area was more oxygenated at the time, I'd start putting them there, but I suppose I can put them here. I want to say it's temporary, but I think we all know at this point, it's not. This actually worked out pretty well because this entire row actually fits 2 barracks perfectly. And while putting paintings in this second bedroom, we have now completely ran out of gold amalgam. That's always good. So we're going to switch over to, I guess, copper ore for now. Copper ore still has a decor bonus. It's not as good as the gold at 10%, but it's better than nothing. Someday I'm going to get to see what this second planetoid is. You know, just as soon as we get stabilized. I don't know when that is, but just as soon. All of a sudden, we're starting to run into the thing where dupes are bypassing the atmosuit checkpoint for some reason. I don't know what's causing that. And what is going on here? Overheating. Oh, Nelly. I took out the wheeze warts in anticipation of putting in the thermal aqua tuner, and apparently I've waited too long. So maybe when this thing's damaged, it allows dupes past? I guess the first priority needs to be getting this thermo aqua tuner online. It looks like the coolant loop is still waiting on iron. We have 5 tons sitting inside the tamer. So let's just release some of it. Yeah, it'll be a little warm, but it's better to have hot iron than no iron at all. I'm loading up the thermo aqua tuner with the polluted water coming out of the pond. Polluted water is going to do fine because I'm probably only going to bring this coolant loop and thus the oxygen being pumped to around 20 degrees. Oh, there's some more scaldings. No! Peshpa, get out! Why does this do this? This series is as difficult as it can be. I don't need little weird bugs making it worse. No, Kevrar, not you too. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Kevrar is not going to make it through. We will see. I don't know where in their bionic brain they thought it was a good idea to run into the steam bath. Here comes that coolant, and right now it's cooling everything because I haven't even put in the liquid pipe thermosensor. But to be quite honest, I don't really care. On the good news front, we're actually making some power here. Also on the good news front is our steam room is done. It still gets overpressured, and it does that because these 12 tiles take a second to release all of the steam. What would have been a better installation is something like this, which we may end up doing in the future. I just don't want to have to deal with separating bionic dupes and normal dupes to get into the water to be able to build a bunch of tiles here so I can then seal it in. So I can do one of these sort of numbers And that way there's no other gases other than steam. Oh, Icky Stew. Why did you go in there? And there's more. Jake W. and DeGrolt. We do have dupes coming in here to rescue them. The festivities have calmed down and the ER is pretty busy. I also restarted the game, and since I did that, no longer are the dupes coming past the atmosuit checkpoint unless they have a suit on. So it looks like at 115 dupes at ×3 speed is about the time I'm going to start experiencing these little weird problems. And I spoke too soon. Flavitz wants another trip to the ER. Thank you, Screwy Girl. Saving the day. I don't know what I'm going to do to prevent dupes without being suits walking in there. I was not on double speed. At least I don't think. Let's do a quick experiment. Trevor's going in, puts the suit on. Chronos puts the suit on. And in the middle of this, Hans has run out of power. How you doing on oxygen, buddy? 123 kilos. You'll be fine. Somebody will bring you a battery, I promise. And I suppose it's time to print another dupe. And look, they're having a party with balloons. We're going to take this chip because they have the ranching booster and our Dreco ranch is almost there. So having more ranchers in the colony will be helpful. Welcome to the colony, duplicate number 116, Sam Sutphin. One thing I've learned to do, and I learned this while I was streaming on Twitch, one of our community members pointed it out, is when you have a bionic dupe that's incapacitated and waiting for a battery, increase their priority. And that seems to have helped because right now, nobody's really caring about poor Hans. Speaking of which, it's probably about time to queue up some more eco power banks. I think we've printed, what, 5 bionic dupes this episode? With each one of them taking 4 power banks. Let's queue up another 20. In fact, let's just go 40. On the good news front is the thermal issues down here are being resolved because the thermal aqua tuner is doing a great job. All of that oxygen is coming out around 23, 24 degrees. And I have even finished filling in all the metal tiles, partly because I'm not looking forward to spending all the metal. And in combination with the cooling system being put in, the sauna being up and running, things are starting to come together and stabilizing. We're producing 1,275 watts out of these steam turbines. Well, that's the max potential. Once it gets up to around 200 degrees, we'll be producing that much. But because of the power control station, we're producing double what we would have if we did not put them into a power plant. So that's definitely helping. So I feel confident I can plug these back in. I also am only able to put 3 of the hydrogen generators into a power control station. That's not too big of a deal. I just need to put a door here. So let's remove that temperature shift plate and go collect some hydrogen. We'll start at the first spawn. Here's the overflow here. And I'm just going to completely bypass this, which I suppose means I need to put this on its own circuit first, because these 2 hydrogen generators were providing power for this portion of the base. And once that line is finished, this will be good, and I can start running the hydrogen from here across to our hydrogen spine, all the way down, and into the power plant. Oh, here we go again. DeVille, how you doing on oxygen, buddy? 21 kilos, that's not great. Let's put you as an emergency. And it looks like Mikey Sheep is going to save the day. DeVille still had about 12 kilos worth of oxygen. Everything's gonna be fine, even though we have 5 more bionic dupes at a critical power level. Oh, who's next? Peshpa, you ran out of power down here. Oh, there's another one. That's 4. What's going on? For some reason, they're not wanting to go in here to grab their eco power banks. I know there's not a ton of suits, but they had plenty of suits and oxygen to be able to come in here and grab extra power banks. We're sitting at 7.4 megajoules. At least Chris and Peshpa decided to become incapacitated at the same spot, so somebody just pick up 2 batteries. And poor Mark Wood was actually on their way to get a power bank and passed out in here. Sorry, buddy. I think what I'm going to do to make this process just a little bit better is I'm going to have a storage bin here that holds all full power banks. And that way somebody's going to come hand deliver them out here, so they're never required to have a suit to go get a fresh charge. Because you can see here in the tooltip, there's 59 full eco power banks sitting around the colony. Here we go. And now they'll all be stored in here. With those festivities over with, I can start putting all the bridges required in to connect this hydrogen. I am going to be using insulated gas pipes, which is going to take a while. and a lot of material to hook up the entire colony, but it will be worth it in the end. Speaking of which, while I'm over here, how's the thermals doing over here? I believe this was our first or second spawn, so it's been running for quite some time. And the thermals in here still look pretty good, enough to the point where the oxygen is coming out at around 20 degrees. And at long last, our hydrogen spine is finally operational. Ooh, look, we have chlorine now. Only 150 grams, but more is coming. You can see we have all the bomb lilies in here. And for the places that are warm enough already, I can put in some Drecos. And I can also start incubating Dreco eggs over here. Oh, this is beautiful. In fact, I will copy this all the way up. Ooh, we have a leftover gas pump here. I thought I copied that. Apparently, I left some of the gas pumps in here, but we've now copied the settings to all the incubators, so all of the Dreco eggs will be coming over here. This area here still needs to get warm because its crops aren't growing, but as more Drecos move in, hotter this place is going to get. It's very close on the line, so I'm okay with starting at the bottom 3 stables, getting them populated and allow their heat to heat the stable next to them. Here's the reason why I do not have any more chlorine. This geyser is dormant, and apparently I never analyzed it, so I don't even know when it comes back to active. But the grass pressure in here is around 170 grams, so we must not have been able to get too much chlorine gas. I don't have another chlorine gas vent around here, do I? I'm sure I have, but I've completely forgotten. Speaking of which, I was in the oil biome a little while ago and I discovered we have another vent or geyser right here. So I'm also going to dig up through here and we'll find out what it's going to be too. And because everything's stable and going okay, the printing pod decided to light up. 3 more bionic dupes. I was recently asked, have I figured out any theories of why I'm only getting bionic dupes? And I still haven't. My guess is they're trying to keep the ratio of normal dupes to bionic dupes about the same. And since I had so many regular dupes from the beginning of this series, now we're getting a whole bunch of bionic dupes. We're going to take this Sonyar, who starts with another ranching booster and is error prone, which isn't too bad, just decreased medicine and science. Welcome to the colony duplicate number 117. AR? This is the first time I've noticed the new NG tune-ups indicator lights, indicating that it has been tuned up. I have not seen that before. Do the steam turbines have one too? Oh, it's right down here. Very nice. I do need to get this circuit over here, which is running 2 thermo aqua tuners, onto the spine. But the good news is this hydrogen generator wasn't doing anything other than providing some extra power, so we didn't have to run the coal generator as much. So what that means for us is I can now send this line all the way over. That is a little bit more of a haphazard run though, so it's going to take me a minute. Alright, I found a path through the center of our base. It's not too shabby, but I do need to get rid of these buildings so there's no more inputs, and then I can drain the rest in. Waste not, want not, even with your hydrogen. And there we go. We now have 2 spawns on the hydrogen spine. Uh-oh, why are you held up? Okay, we're still finishing 1 or 2 more pipes, which probably will need some ladders. Spawn 3 or spawn 4, I don't remember which one it is going to be the easiest of all. The spine's right here. We can hop right over there and do one of these jobbies. And we had long put this on the spine, so I don't have to worry about what else this one's powering. And it also means I'll be able to recapture all this beautiful wire. It's probably just lead. And then the last spawn, this one is running some stuff. So step 1 is to get this on its own circuit. So we'll put down another one of these here. Nice and easy. Grab some of our 95,000 kilos worth of lead. We have been doing some more digging. And then right into here. Once that's connected, I can disconnect these. And that'll be all 4 spawns sending their excess hydrogen into here. Now, we're not seeing any surplus, and I doubt we ever will based on our power needs right now, because the battery is set on 9080. I did find out that this chlorine gas vent is not going to erupt again for another 28 cycles, and these Drecos aren't going to have anything to eat. Unless, can they eat the flowers on the ground? No, it's just balm lily. So I need to not ranch anymore in here, and then re-wrangle all of these. Even though there's only 178 grams of chlorine gas, it's still enough. And all of a sudden, we do have an issue. I have a lot of hydrogen not spilling over, and I don't know what it is. It's probably a directional issue. So I'm just going to put a bridge right here, and that should provide some direction. Don't know why it would be confused. Probably because of this new junction. So I will hit a bridge there and a bridge here. It's this bridge that messed everything up. That's flowing better. This line is connected. This line is getting finished. And for the last spawn, the power is in, so I can disconnect all of this. What are we collecting over here? Oh, hydrogen, just in case. Well, I don't want to do that anymore. Now, this last one, you'd figured we'd bring that pipe right out of the bottom, but there's a whole lot of pipes in here, and I don't want to plug that pipe directly in to the hydrogen generators. I want all four to come in through this junction here. So I'm going to make another line right here, which, of course, we will put another set of bridges. Suppose I can save a little bit on piping because this is insulated tile right here. And now all I have to do is build a few more bridges to capture all of this. Cycle 347, time for another dupe. Ooh, and we have options this time, except Travaldo is anemic, so goodbye, Travaldo. We're going to take this Chip, who will be another Dreco Rancher. And I'm sure to butcher this one, but I'm going to try my best. Welcome to duplicate number 118, Tobleto Danielio. Something miraculous is happening. These natural gas generators have been able to turn off. It's not a lot right now, but last cycle they only ran 90% of the time instead of flat out like they had been. In fact, we're even starting to see a backlog of hydrogen. I might have to try to squeeze in another hydrogen generator power plant, but I do want to put in that just in case valve system, and this seems like a perfect spot right here. And this is the design I came up with. I exploded it a little bit to make it easier to understand, but there are far more compact ways to do it. But the fundamentals here are the same. If these two tanks of hydrogen ever fill up, that means hydrogen will start backing up in this line. When it backs up past this bridge, well, the overflow bridge mechanic will kick in and hydrogen will bypass. So step one is to have a sensor here that says, hey, we have hydrogen backing up in this system. I need to send a green signal to turn on the hydrogen generators, regardless if the battery says we need it or not. And this here will work just fine. The only issue with this mechanic is we don't necessarily want it to fire if only one hydrogen packet is backing up. So what you can also do is provide a filter gate, and we'll set the filter gate to say 10 seconds, just to be sure that hydrogen is truly sitting in this overflow area. The other bridge here is just to be able to provide direction for the overflow. And once I have this filter installed, I'll be able to test the system and show you that it works. Filter is installed, so we can simulate the fact that the tanks are full by just disconnecting this pipe here, and that way the hydrogen will start backing up here. Notice right now it is sending a red signal, but now that hydrogen is backed up in this line, it is sending a green signal. And so the overflow will then start draining. It'll be a little bit slower because this bridge is not taking priority on this line, which we could do by providing a bridge right here and taking this line and putting it into the output of that one. But we would still need a directional bridge. Otherwise, the hydrogen gas is going to get confused because this is the input. That's a lot of bridges in one little area, so this system works just fine. And as you can see, everything is running normal. Well, here at Cycle 348, I'm going to call this one done. Everything is finally mostly stable. We actually even have 2 power plants. I'm so excited for that, including the fact that the sauna is providing all of the water for this spawn too. Just as we originally designed, I don't know what, 4 episodes ago? Which I actually need to fix that too, because we needed a liquid shutoff so we could actually automate that valve. As it stood, even though the sauna wasn't at 20 kilos of pressure, it was still giving water over, which is not a big deal, but not necessarily how we designed it either. There we go, that is much better. Alright, this time it is for real the end of this episode. Let me know in the comments below what we should be doing next episode, other than building yet another spawn. So until next time, much love, happy gaming, and I'll talk to you soon.